let's get started. So we have Helen Keit, who I met about 12 years. Is it 12? 12 years and 2 months ago, approximately. Helen and I knew of each other, but we never had formally met until Keller Williams came on the scene in Queens County. And we had some discussions, and I immediately felt a lot of respect for Helen from many perspectives, not only from a personal, but from a professional perspective as well. And my instincts were not wrong at that time, and she has just shown to be a good friend, an amazing partner, and just a person that is that continues to grow. And I think that that's why she's a perfect example of someone that I would want to emulate if I was trying to grow in our business, and the reason for her being our special guest on the call today. So thank you for taking the time out, Helen.
Of course. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So you want to tell us a little bit about where you started your business, how it started, and how it's progressed over time, and how you've morphed and changed your business, not only during different economic times, but as different things in technology have changed, and you have adapted, not only adapted, but embraced them and thrived during those times.
Okie doke. Well, I think it's, I have to relate to what Mike Ferry, that's the father, right? What he just recently said. He prepared his whole career for this point, meaning now more than ever. I mean, we've seen it through all our cycles, right, Edgar? But remaining positive, optimistic, perseverance, right? That's everything, certainly now. But I would tell you that change is the opportunity. So if you go back really quickly, you know, my big change, I came from a small town in Ohio. I felt I was going off the cliff when I came here to New York. I had a job with Bloomingdale's. I'd interviewed and got a job and had a buyer who taught me everything. So I would say those opportunities, those changes gave me opportunities to really meet amazing people who let me take the ball and run with it and grow. So Victor Trimmer at Bloomingdale's taught me everything, basically because he just wanted to get started with his new venture, which became Strawberries, the retail firm. Remember those chains? Any of you old enough here? But he, instead of just having me pack and do basic stuff, which most people in the retail industry did, he really taught me everything. So I advanced very quickly. I became a buyer for Bloomingdale's and then took off as I was ready to have my kids. So I stayed home basically for 10 years while the kids were growing. And I was able to work for Steve Blumner and the Blumner Boys at First Choice Real Estate part-time. So I really worked for them 10 years part-time. And then I was ready to go back in the corporate world, time to change. And they said to me, they knew they needed to develop business, but they weren't sure what they needed. They weren't sure what that would look like. So they said, okay, figure it out. So nobody taught me, and I got myself a mentor, somebody at Century 21 who was doing something very simply, but it gave me some basic information. So the whole thing became, what do I need to learn? Who do I need to meet to grow this business? And how do I put the systems into play so that we really could have an effective operation? So I started with relocation in the referral business, and it was very, you know, I met and became part of the Worldwide Employee Relocation Council.
Around what years are we talking about, Helen, when you started that?
1991. Mm-hmm. So at First Choice, I had all of us sending outgoing referrals. Nobody even knew what that was. I would place them. We developed relationships with brokers all over. At that time, I joined what was the top, and they're still in business. It's the leading companies of, it was the Relo organization, independent brokers. You gotta remember, First Choice wasn't even a brand. It was just this very small company. We grew to be #1 in Queens for the last 15 years of their existence, but they weren't anybody recognizable. But I went out all over the country and developed business. That's where I learned networking. I didn't know anything about what I was doing. So when I was networking, I was really, really best I ever was then, because I was really engaged in finding out how to do that business, how to develop business, how to send referrals, how to create a confidence in what we were doing. So, I developed all that and the good thing about that is it took us, I mean, the guys didn't even care what I did. They just saw I was doing it. So they left me alone, which was great. But we became not just a Fresh Meadows real estate company, which was all we really were, Fresh Meadows, Flushing, maybe some Bayside. And it gave us an opportunity at a time where everything was getting very tight. So now we were expanding and doing business all over Queens. And that's where—
Let me stop you there for a second, because that is first choice for those of you that don't remember, or those of you that do remember. They were the first company that actually stretched their arms out to do business outside of their local territory, right? So yeah, you're right. They were powerful in Fresh Meadows and Flushing for the most part. But then as time progressed, they started stretching out their arms to where I would at the time, and I got my license in 92. At the time in 92 to 95, you started seeing their signs in Jackson Heights, in Woodside. They started branching out. So I think that I learned from them the fact that, hey, this is becoming not a centralized, this is where my little pocket of business is, but I can actually transact business outside of that. And Helen was a big part of that.
Well, that was me doing it. So what I was doing was training agents on how to really expand. As we'd get opportunities, then we'd develop new business in those areas. So I was involved in that relocation industry. I still am. And then as I came to the 1994-5, I saw there were a lot of foreclosures around, okay? Market changing. I said, well, I can do this. I said, let me just figure out how to do this. So then I created a whole, approach, and I met asset managers, different banks, different lenders. There was a whole array of people doing this business. And I trained a team. So I was really working with the team, same in the relocation then too, back then, to really help me. So I was, I needed their legs out there, and I was doing, thousands of evaluations, and then we'd get a lot. I sold over 500 foreclosures during that time with my team. We needed to manage properties. We were running a whole expense. In those days, you had to pay for it. Luckily, my owners there, they just trusted me in what we were doing. If we had a winter of 47 properties that needed to be heated, have the snow removed, have the tenants approached, all these things. So it was a big, operation. So while I was still doing relocation, we were doing this, and I was always still running my business because I knew there'd be a time things would change. I knew that foreclosures would eventually run their course. And I had counterparts. There were, really just basically a few of us doing this, mainly men, okay? And I knew that if you didn't keep all your saucers spinning, that would eventually evaporate and you would have no business. And that did happen to a couple of them. So I always kept up several different avenues of business, which is what I would tell you is really important. As you see your change, you want to see what's the opportunity, but also keep yourself very forward thinking on where things will go from there. And so then we ran that course, and as first choice sold to Coldwell Banker. I stayed there for a couple of years, but I did not like that big corporate thing. And when Lou opened, I'd always known about Keller Williams. So that gave me an opportunity to really consolidate all that I had done through my departments and the businesses I was developing and bring them over here. And that's where I got my team going in the different programs and specialties that I have here, embracing KW technology and taking it to another level. And just as a real quick, one more change, I'm becoming a John Maxwell coach, so I'm always learning.
That's fantastic. Congrats. I didn't know that.
Excellent.
That's all of you. I'm not doing it for the money part. I'm just, listen, it's not, in that real coaching, it's besides what we do here, but it's really helping people to,
But you know what? And that's what I saw. And that's the first thing that I was impressed with when we met. Within a very short period of time, and I'm talking about within a month, you were rolling up your sleeves, helping us grow this office without absolutely asking for anything in return. And you just said, I'm doing this John Maxwell coach, not for me, not for, it's not a monetary gain that I'm looking for, but to give back so you could help others grow. But you know what? I think one thing that we've learned through life and our upbringing and this company is by giving you receive, right? So it's a natural thing that when you're going to be coaching through the John Maxwell system, you're going to be in front of people that at the end of the day, going to use Helen Keit and her team when they need real estate, and if it's agents outside of our area that plug into your coaching, they're going to call you to send referrals over. So I think it's a great example that you're setting from not only a personal growth perspective, but from a business growth perspective. And I thank you for that, because you've taught me a lot of things over the years as well.
Thank you giving me the opportunity. But you always want to be learning and growing. You want to be a student of business out there, because if you talk about how I'm operating right now, which I think we picked up somewhere, you want to be really, besides that trusted advisor, you want to be educating the public, your buyers and sellers, certainly telling them how we're working now, but certainly be that problem solver. And today we're thinking in short steps. I don't know about you, but 30, 60, 90 days. What do we do right now? And how to, and then we'll worry about, and we'll get everything in gear for after, but think small and put it to work. Right.
So, and it's like you have antennas, because my next question was going to be, what advice would you give everyone on this call in order to, number one, prepare themselves, number one, to continue growing their business even during this limited pandemic that limits our way of transacting business. So that's number one. That's question number one. And number two, what should we be doing in order to be ready for when those floodgates open and we are able to sit in front of homeowners and list properties and show properties and so on? What advice would you give?
Well, I think
Which one?
I don't want you to be paralyzed, and you don't want to be worried. In fact, I just heard some major economist said they're expecting a check mark improvement. So as opposed to a V, a check mark means we're coming back up and it will continue longer. It's going to be fine. We've got a lot of serious issues, and we're going to be working on them. You don't want to get preoccupied with the negative. You have to stay in a positive vein. So whatever you can do every day to keep yourself there. Small things that you can do to feel good that you've learned something new about the market. We're in business, and I'm always kind of surprised. Well, I come from, an MBA in business, but I think you all should really embrace everything you can understand about what's going on now. And you're going to hear a lot of different sources, but the more educated you are, you're going to be able to sift through and bring out what's important to your consumer, your buyers and sellers. They need information. They need guidance. I've heard this from somebody, but I really believe this. The day of the hobbyists is over. The people dabbling in this business, and that's not this group. This group's devoted to learning, to being the best you can be. So all of you, continue and use this time to really brush up, be well educated, stay in touch by letting your people know. There's all sorts of, I just had, KW has the pieces on credit, on how to keep your credit, how to keep your finances in order, things like that. And then bringing the local market to your people, your sphere, those you're working with. Prepare, tell them what we're going to be doing. Give them and right now we're looking at, I think the mayor's talking about mid-June. So you kind of want to go with what we're going to be able to do for you here in the near future, and then how we're going to be handling business, going forward. I know we've talked about it, all of us, Gloria. Yeah, I think we'll be looking at, I'll have some kind of checklist. The more that we explain, we become different, because so many of these agents are not prepared. They're not getting guidance. They're not going to know what to do out there. It is different now. Every time I moved that business, whether I went from the relocation to the to the asset manager, the bank owned stuff. I had all different systems. Each one of them then started getting more tech oriented. They all had their new forms for BPOs. I had to keep learning all this stuff. We went from the cell phone to that big thing, or the pager to the big thing, then the cell.
Don't gloss over that, because I was there too, and
Yeah.
and most of these people have not been. So when I joined in '92, and you were licensed before me, there was no internet to get listings on a daily basis, or that you can go on the internet to check out MLS. We used to receive them via mail,
Yeah.
mail every day. So we would have to look at the papers that we received via the mail. What's the new listing? And then from our office, we used to have to call the customer or the client, correct? And like you said, when in '92, and I'm assuming just before then, were beepers already in place, or did they come after '92? I forget.
Oh, that beeper was a pain in the neck, because you'd be driving along, get that beeper, then you had to go find a phone somewhere, right?
That's right.
No.
And then cell phones, and then laptops, and then we went to virtual presentations. So that's why I'm so impressed with the way that you've progressed over time. And I'm just going to go back and a little bit and give everybody a synopsis of what we just heard. Right? I took some notes, and I hope you guys are taking notes as well. But so what I heard from Helen is Helen has been learning based from the very beginning, right? You started with relocation as your business. Then you learned that referrals were important, and you grew your referral business. Then you said, okay, so I have relocation, I'm getting referrals. Then you realized, hey, I can extend my territory to outside of just Fresh Meadows, right? Then the foreclosure boom came out, and you said, I need to learn foreclosures. I need to be the expert in foreclosures, because that's what people are going to be requiring, is my expertise. So let me become the expert in foreclosures. Then I can't even read my own handwriting. I think it says kept up several different. Oh, so then you put all of that together, and you were getting income from all of those aspects that you grew over time.
Plus, I was running big teams for First Choice that was helping all those agents too. I was really running a team too. So my own business, but also the whole company, growing the team.
So one of the things that I think every agent, or I shouldn't generalize, but most agents are struggling with right now is technology. We fear technology. We don't embrace technology. We use every excuse as to why I'm not using technology or not learning technology. What would you say to that?
As late in my career as I am, I think you all know where that is, but I can do command. I can add, I do the nurtures, I create it, I set it up. It really is simple once you do it. It's just that Nike thing, just do it. It's not that difficult. This is a great couple of weeks here, to feel comfortable doing it. I think we hold ourselves back. You don't want to do that. If you just push forward, and then you'll be so excited with yourself, you'll feel really accomplished, and that will propel you forward, and you'll feel confident when you talk to your buyers and sellers. And that's what it's about. You need to present to them how we're different, how we're working. Your app, I haven't tried it yet, but I know it's there. Your new app has that little feature where you can, your clients or whoever can schedule if they want a virtual tour or a conversation with you on the bottom of the listings. I mean, I'm out there now doing virtual tours, walkthroughs. I mean, I've never done this before. You know what I mean? You try things, you try it, you have fun with it. What's the worst that can happen? You make a mistake, your computer's not going to blow up, right? But you'll be able to move forward, feel organized. I mean, like they're saying, everything that you do with your base of people is your business for the future. There is nothing, we didn't know this years ago until I got here. Nobody did this, right? It's your base, who you're.
So Helen, are you a normal person like every one of us, that when something new comes out, you feel intimidated, or that you feel like, oh, something new, I don't want to deal with this, and then you plow forward? Am I correct in that, or are you just
Yeah.
blindly going into whatever comes out?
Well, I think maybe if you all think back to, I'm sure you've all had situations like I did all along this path. I was always thrown into new situations, but then they became new opportunities. So that's what you have to remind yourself. These new situations become the new opportunities. So you don't want to look at them negatively. You say, okay, think back to where you were successful. You tried something new. I don't care if you were back as a teenager learning to do whatever, right? And then you accomplished that and you felt great. Okay, this is the same thing. You just have to take yourself back.
I love you so much because you nailed it, right? So I think that, and I've always thought that if business is normal, it's a lot easier for every agent to just get it, right? Sales become sales, listings become listings, and then I'm fighting with everybody for business. When these changes come is when the opportunities come for us to grow, because then, like you've done throughout your whole career, foreclosures came. You know what? Let me be just one of those few that become an expert in foreclosures, and my business explodes. So whatever changes are coming, and they're here now, be ready, change with the times, and you'll be far ahead of 90% of the agents out there, and your business will just naturally grow. Am I right here?
Figure out your area of expertise, things that you enjoy, learn to be the best you can be in that. I've always gotten designations. I've had Ross do that too, so that we could really be, as close to an expert. Expert's a weird word, so I don't want it, but skilled, professional, really knowledgeable. I'm not just an SRES, I'm a certified senior advisor. That's a top group out of Colorado that oversees all kinds of professionals who work with the 50 plus bunch. They have in-depth education requirements and ethics review. So that sets me apart from just an SRES. I see what I'm saying? I actually went on too. I'm also on the board of their journal. So, you go these extra steps and you network and you develop that level and then I put it together with my 50 plus lifestyle moves program. So I'm telling you all, figure out what you enjoy, what you really naturally gravitate to, whether it's vacation homes. Vacation homes are going to be a new thing now. They're going to leave Manhattan, want to be out there, wherever, think about it. And how to really up your game. Learn as much as you can, besides being a real maven on the local market, because they need you, but they want to trust, and they want your trust and guidance. Okay, that's more important than ever. It's a very difficult, listen, this has always been a difficult process, but we know a lot of these agents in this business, and I always said we don't need 1.4 million of them, whatever it is, they're going to shake out because they got lucky, right? This game is not about luck. This is about really being that true professional who's there through the different changes of people's lives to help them, accomplish their real estate goals.
Right? And I think in a climate like we have today, and let's go back to the late 80s. I wasn't there for that, but I did see it. I wasn't in the business, but the late 80s when the market crashed. In the early 2000s, 9/11, everything stalled in New York. Remember, the rest of the country and the world was still moving real estate. We just stalled. And then to the 2008 economic crisis, we all we have gone through different economic turmoil that has affected our business. But like you said, as long as we understand it and we learn from it and we can convey it to the public with a positive air, because if we go out there once this is done and we talk to people and the sky is falling, we're not going to be able to get people to understand that there is a value in hiring me to guide you through this pandemic and through this unemployment period or whatever they're going through, the grief from somebody passing in their family. There's going to be a lot of divorces. There's going to be a lot of different situations that we're going to have to navigate through at one time. And we need to learn from that today so that when we do get in front of people, they can rely on us and say, I'm glad Helen is here because she is calm and she's reassuring me that she's going to hold my hand through this process. And that's who we all need to be.
problem solver. Can I just say that you're going to see some things go on? That's why you want to be paying attention. Whereas that SALT, that state and local tax cap, is having a big, impact, I think, on the island with the high taxes, right? Who knows? That may change. People want to leave Manhattan. They don't want to be in those buildings. They're going out here for rentals for sure on the island, right, guys? Out into the Hamptons. That's what I'm hearing. So things can change very quickly. So you want to be paying attention and letting we don't know. We can't say anything with certainty. We can only present the information and then help them weigh it. And people, I think everyone's going to come out of this with a different viewpoint on home. Either they're going to love where they live, or they're going to say, oh, I really need something different. I really need to change this about my home. So there's going to be a lot of, like you said, whether it's divorce or whatever, but even regardless, people are going to be looking at where they live and need to have people, professionals like us, help them sort out the next move, right?
By the way, so you all heard Helen talk about SALT, right? I would love to take a survey of how out of 123 of us on this call knew about SALT. So, and by the way, I'm not knocking any of us. What I want to bring out is that the other thing that Helen didn't, I guess it goes into the learning-based portion of being who she is. One thing that you are, and I've always recognized in Holly Park, and I learned from both of you over time, is you guys know the news. You guys pay attention to the news that is pertinent to our business, right? And that goes along with economic news, that goes along with real estate news, that goes along with your daily numbers, monthly numbers, as far as the territories and the areas that you guys cover. You guys are always on top of it. So if there's one piece of advice that I would heed is be very aware and know it like Helen does it, backwards and forwards, because if you can talk like this to a client sitting across from you, again, they're going to feel like, thank goodness Helen is here. I feel comfortable in her guiding me through this process.
And just remember, you're not at a job here. This is your business. So that's really empowering. That's why I stated this. I thought, oh my goodness, I can never go back to a job with somebody just, with their looking down on me with their thumb on me or something like that. And that's where I thanked Jack and Steve, even my first guy, when I was in a job at Bloomingdale's. He let me go. He let me learn everything I could. So, but you have that opportunity now. This is your business. You can do whatever. It can grow as big as you want it, and you have all the opportunity in the world. So you just want to take advantage. A company like this, ask any of us. We're here to guide you. And there's so much that we're doing that other companies aren't doing for their people. So when we go back out there, we're going to be, armed with how we're doing business now, how we can guide you now through this whole change, right? Because everything just changed.
I want to talk about is the technological things you're doing outside of Keller Williams that people are just starting to actually do. Like I've been listening to your and Ross's podcast,
Right. I mean, I found that from Evans too. He's the pro on this stuff. But you know what? Like, you just try this stuff and see what works. I actually interviewed an estate attorney, and I thought that was really informative. It might not play well. You have to figure out where it plays well. It might not play well on, generally for Facebook or something like that. But that's something informational. She gave it's Donna, who was in the office.
Yes.
Donna Turetsky from Sturtleman Balin. She gave a whole rundown, everything you need to know on estate planning. If you take something like that and email it, embed that thing, I don't know how to physically do it, but I know what I want it to do. So it's embedded in an email and went out to everybody besides being on YouTube or whatever. I mean, that is great information. So it doesn't even have to be me talking for sure all the time.
And I know, in addition to your podcast, I mean, every time the government comes out or Keller Williams comes out with their, the State of the Union address, you actually take all of those little tidbits of information about the economy and you summarize it, not only in a vlog, you do a blog, you put content out there consistent about the same topic for days.
You can add your own little thing or some local tidbits. I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. We can do add-on things. Here's something you all can do. I mean, believe me, it's not perfect, but especially right now, I'm walking through the property, right? And talking about it. It's like you were with me, you know, it's that virtual walkthrough business. And I think it's probably better. It's certainly not produced. It doesn't look like HGTV with those glamorous people doing all this glitz and glam stuff, but it's helpful because I realized I was in a property. I said, you could never see this stuff from the pictures, you know, and I had high-end photography, but you couldn't understand these little features. It'd be like if I was with you. So it's really, when you talk about working live and virtual, which is how we'll eventually be doing it, even though we'll be out there, we're still going to want to do things virtually to narrow the field down, narrow the risk. You don't need these buyers going through 25 properties. They should be able to work with their agent, with you, hopefully, get them very well pre-approved, get them motivated. They need questions on their must-haves and, you know, can do without. And then they show you something that doesn't match that and say, well, you wanted this. Why would we go see this? You know, these discussions ahead of time rule out all that wasted running around. You're going to be more efficient, right?
And now more than ever, every single seller and buyer, you're pre-qualifying. You're even though it's virtual and it may just be a virtual call. I mean, I know your team took 2 listings yesterday, but you're being extremely purposeful about pre-qualifying every single person, even if it is just a half an hour Zoom conversation. You're being purposeful about who you are having these sessions with.
And talk about what they don't know, because most people don't understand how the lending arena has changed. I mean, you've heard all our lenders on here. I mean, Chase themselves just, you know, they don't really want to do all this lending. So they made their criteria really strict. FHA raised that bar from 510 credit to 620, 630, 40, whatever. These things make a big difference. So when you're educating these buyers who just come into you and think they could buy like they did last summer, you know, or what they heard from their cousin and the rate, you know, everybody's not going to qualify for those great rates, but you're here to help them through our sources.
And when a seller says to you, well, Helen, if I have to open the door myself, what the hell do I need you for? What is your response? Because I know we spoke about this on several Zoom sessions, how yesterday we said there were 180 activities that go into getting a house from listed to close. Well, actually, I did research for Mark Cisneros yesterday, and there's actually 290, okay? So what are you doing to overcome, you know, the fact that they have to open the door?
Right. So what goes on before that is what we were just talking about, being really careful on the pre-qualifying and just checking out their situation, looking at bank docs, looking at pre-approval that's recent, can't be from February too long. People, they don't understand now. If somebody's job is even furloughed, they're not going to close them. I've got a couple of things waiting because the guy just went back to work, right? So you have to let everybody know. And so, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we are truly vetting everyone that calls us, seeing their motivation, making sure that we're not just dancing somebody through that really has just begun and has to really look at like 20 more properties and different locations. We're helping and have gotten a buyer that's narrowed down. I'm sincerely interested. Now you're going to open the door, but all the conversation, all the steps from there through an inspection process and all the things we do. I always say getting the buyer is a very small part of this job. And even smaller now, you're just opening the door. So he's not going to be negotiating with you. He's going to be negotiating with his agent or me, whoever that is. And we'll be keeping you posted. You're just physically opening the door and walking away. All these other activities that go into making sure that this transaction follows with a viable buyer, we're on top of, and then give them all those.
Helen, thank you so much.